Hey there, you're listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion. Here's your host, RJ Carbone.
And a high drive into left center field. Stanley's going to watch another one fly. Are you kidding me? DiVincenzo a three. Bang! Bang! Knicks take a
Take this time to apologize to absolutely nobody.
At the wall. See ya! See ya! See ya! Mr. Nova.
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down and the game is tied.
Rose, you shook up the world again.
I did it again. But God did it, man. I really just had
Gonna have to. Bronson running away. Oh my! He has been the best player to put on that uniform.
Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
All right, welcome everybody to the show, episode 799 of the podcast. I very much appreciate you all tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking some Tim Hill. The Yankees retained him. Jasson Dominguez, we have a comp for him, who I think could be a similar mold. And we're also going to talk about a potential infielder who the Yankees could sign that I think could help this team. And his name is not Alex Bregman. This is one of the cheaper stopgap options that I think could actually help this team in 2025. So we're getting into all that in this episode. And I appreciate you all tuning in as always. So I think I want to start with the Tim Hill deal. The Yankees brought him back. Was it yesterday? As I'm recording, it's Tuesday, or it's Wednesday night, Wednesday the 5th. They brought Tim Hill back on a 1-year deal worth about $3 million. And there's an option for 2026. And as well as that, there is I think a $350,000 buyout. So the good thing with that is it doesn't hurt you towards the tax if you decide to let him walk, or cut ties with him. But he was solid last year for the Yankees. Tim Hill, the Yankees picked him up in the middle of their season, and he made a pretty good impact with the team last year. 30 some odd games. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Let me pull them up. Tim Hill, should have had him ready, but is a podcast. It's a podcast. Tim Hill statistics. Yeah, so last year with the Yankees, he's 35 tomorrow. Look at that. February 10th, he turns 35, actually, so it's a few days. Last year with the Yankees, 2.05 ERA across 35 appearances, 44 innings, 18 strikeouts. No, this is a guy who, he's been a journeyman his entire career. Nothing crazy, but he had his most success in his 30-game stint with the Yanks last year. Came in here, dropped his arm angle a little bit more, so that helped him net better results with that two-seam fastball. He had more command with it, and he produced a lot better numbers with that pitch. That's where he got all the ground balls, all the soft contact. It was with that sinker. And that's, he's not a guy who's going to get a ton of swing and miss. He's not a guy who's going to strike you out. He's not a guy who's going to get you to swing on pitches outside the zone. That is the last thing Tim Hill is. He was like bottom of the barrel in terms of chase, whiff, and K rate. He gets incredibly weak contact. And that's nice. It's nice to have a different look in your bullpen, I'm hoping that Tim Hill can come out there this upcoming season, and I don't need him to pitch to a 235 again, but I don't know. To be honest, I'm not expecting him to do the same thing. And if we're being blunt, for a guy who throws 88, 89 and doesn't have much of a pitch mix, it's just that fastball and then the occasional slider, which doesn't really net great results. It's hard to see him like sustaining what he did last year. Just the stuff isn't overwhelming. So like, it's nice. It's a good deal for $3 million. Again, not hating on the deal. I'm fine with it. I like Tim Hill just as much as you. Maybe not as much as some Yankees fans, but I like him. I just, I was a very big fan of Andrew Chafin. I kind of wanted him. But the Yankees got their lefty. I still would like one more lefty in their bullpen. Just, again, Tim Hill's going to be 35. So, case of injury, you want another lefty in there. And I'm sure the Yankees can work things out in camp, find somebody. I do hope that they have enough velocity in their bullpen. It's a bullpen that definitely improved in getting more swing and miss, right? You brought in Devin Williams, so that's going to help with that. And there is some high velocity in that pen. You've got Jonathan Loaizaga. You've got Ian Hamilton, who can dial it up to 98 as well. Those are also two guys who have trouble staying healthy. And if they go down, I guess Luke Weaver is maybe a tick below them in velocity, but he can go 96, 97. That's why I kind of really, really wanted the Yankees to go and pay Tanner Scott, but I know they don't have much money because they're, broke. I don't know. But I thought Andrew Chafin would have been a really would have been a really nice lefty pitcher to go after. Maybe they can still go after him. He's a low velocity guy too, but he gets a lot of swing and miss with that breaking ball that he throws. It's like a 12-6 slider type pitch. There aren't many high velocity lefties available on the market, but there are a couple that I took note of. Amir Garrett, left-handed relief pitcher who can throw 95, 96. He is primarily slider four-seam. The slider has generated consistently good numbers before. There's a guy, Jake Dykman, left-handed relief pitcher, throws 95. Nothing crazy, but it's what's out there on the market. He's four-seam sweeper. And there are some other high-velocity guys out of the bullpen, but a lot of righties. Drew Smith is a righty who can throw hard. I forget his first name, but Graveman, that guy Graveman, he can throw hard, gets a lot of velocity, gets a lot of swing and miss, a deep pitch mix, sinker, slider, four-seam changeup. Maybe they could pick him up. Kyle Finnegan, that's a guy who's 97, 98, consistently a sub-4 ERA. He might cost a little more. There's a guy, I never heard of this kid, but I was looking up relievers who were on the market, and I was looking up their StatCasts, and a name that intrigued me, JT Chagua, I think is how you pronounce it. High velocity arm, also a righty. Luis Garcia throws a hard fastball. He gets a lot of chase. He's got a slider that produces some great numbers. And he's primarily sinker splitter, so he gets some ground balls with that. He is very old, 38, 39, so how long is that velo going to last? But overall, I think this is probably the complete bullpen. The Yankees are most likely done Again, you'll see some names in and out to start the season, but it seems like this is what we have, and it's a bullpen with, again, a lot of swing and miss, I believe, and a lot of depth. You've got Devin Williams and Luke Weaver in the back end of your pen, and then in middle relief, you got now Tim Hill. You brought back Johnny Loizaga, Fernando Cruz, who I think is going to play a big role, Mark Leiter, if he makes the team out of camp, Jake Cousins, who I think is going to break out, Ian Hamilton, and Scott Efros. Scott Efros, if he's healthy, is an interesting pitcher. He's also a guy who pitches from an interesting, a unique arm angle, has the two-seam, has a nice slider. We'll see what we get from him this year if he's part of the team. And then I'm sure, one of, or maybe two of Clayton Beater, Yandres Gomez, and maybe Will Warren, win a roster spot or two. So the bullpen seems to be set now. I'm satisfied with the bullpen. I'm satisfied with the rotation. Still need one more move in that lineup. And we're going to talk about who I think could be a good signing for the Yankees if they do decide to sign somebody and they want to keep under tax. So we'll do that. We'll talk about this guy as soon as we return from our first break here on episode 799 of BD4. Stay with us. Be right back. BD4 is available on social media for those who want to follow. You can find BD4 on Instagram at BD4Pod. You can find us on X at BD4Pod. And you can find us on Facebook by simply searching BD4. Hey guys, just a quick reminder, this podcast is also available in video format on YouTube. So be sure to go over to the YouTube channel, BD4, subscribe, like the videos, comment, and tell me how much I suck or maybe how much you like the video. We'd very much appreciate it. All right. So what I think is interesting, I never really, I heard people bring this kid's name up before. I never really took it serious, was never really intrigued, but then I said, you know what, screw it. Let me look him up real quick. Let me look at his Savant page. Let me look at his baseball reference page. It's late at night. I'm stumbling my words. Because I know the Yankees are most likely not going to, they're not going to pay Alex Bregman because they're an organization right now that is really, really struggling with cash, and they just can't afford it. They just can't afford it. This New York Yankees global brand can't afford to pay anybody else. They've hit their limits. So with that said, they have to go to the dollar store and look for alternatives to play third base or second base, if they even do that and they don't stay in house. But there was a name, believe it or not, that I did find pretty intriguing when I was looking at some of the alternatives on the free agent market. And this guy goes by the name of Yoan Moncada. Everybody in baseball knows who Yoan Moncada is because he is a former number one prospect. He wasn't just number one with Boston, but he was, I believe, the number one prospect in baseball for a little bit there. He is now 29 years old. He is pretty well into his career. This was, again, a former top prospect. I mean, he had the hype for Boston fans that Jasson Dominguez had for Yankees fans right now. This is an infielder who was compared to Robinson Cano with more speed when he was coming up through the system. So he started out with Boston, experienced 1 year over there, didn't play much, and then he went to the White Sox in that trade. and he's coming off of a $70 million deal with the White Sox, and he's now a free agent. Still unsigned as we talk here in early February. A kid who never really reached those high expectations, but he still panned out to have a solid career. Through 9 years in the big leagues, 747 games, 254 batting average, 331 on base percentage, 424 slugging percentage, 756 OPS, and a 106 OPS plus. Those are Yoan Moncada's career numbers. Those aren't bad. He also raked in the WBC 2 years ago. In 6 games, he had a 1258 OPS, 5 RBIs, 4 walks, and 5 extra base hits. I do remember him playing for Team Cuba and absolutely tearing the cover off the ball. Doubles machine. And that's one of his tools. You know, he has some home run pop, but he does hit a lot of doubles. He's got, I think, 3 or 4 30-double seasons there. He can run a little bit, and he's going to provide you with some infield versatility. He can play second base, and he can play third base, which is perfect for what the Yankees are trying to find here. This is a switch bat. That's good. And he's got pretty even splits, nothing crazy, lefty-righty. And you go to his StatCast page, the baseball savant's kind of all over the place just because he's had trouble staying healthy. But the one consistent metric that I found, which was always ranked very high, it's his launch angle sweet spot. He's always in, I don't know, the bar is always close to like 90th to 100th percentile in launch angle sweet spot. So he does find the right spot on the bat with his swing to hit the ball. Now, again, the big problem here with signing Yoan Moncada, the kid's always hurt. He's never on the field. So that might ultimately be why the Yankees don't choose to go after him, and it would make sense. In 2017, he played just 54 games. In 2019, he played 132 games. He had some back and knee issues. In 2022, he played in just 104 games. He had an oblique issue in April. In May, he dealt with a quad issue. In June, it was his hamstring. In July, it was a foot injury. In August, the hamstring flared up again. Okay, so he missed a lot of time. 2023, 92 games. He had a back injury in April. And then June, he re-injured the back. And then last year, he played in only 12 games because he had an adductor strain. So, having trouble staying on the field. That's the issue with Yoan Moncada. But for somebody who is going to command, what, $5 to $8 million, if it's something like that on a 1-year prove-it deal, I think I'd do it. You know, you figure this is just going to be a stopgap, right? Just a 1-year signing, stopgap until the deadline, and you platoon him with Oswaldo Cabrera to keep him healthy. So what are you paying for? You're paying $5 to $8 million for 80 to 100 games until you find something with a deadline. You know, I don't trust Oswaldo Cabrera to be an everyday player on this team. And I don't even know if I trust him in a 50-50 split to hit. I think if you go 60-40, Yoan Moncada, again, he can hit from both sides well enough. You know, there's a lot of upside in him. You know, at worst, production-wise, he's a league average bat, which is what Cabrera would be at best. And at best, with Moncada, production-wise, he is a well above average bat. You know, in 2029, no, it was 2029. In 2019, he had a 140 OPS plus. A 140 OPS plus in 2019 through 559 plate appearances. So there's a lot of upside here. This is somebody who, if you acquired, and if he does stay healthy, you know he's going to be at least a decent bottom of the lineup bat for you. You know? Now, the steamer projections on Fangraph are very light for him. They say 684 OPS, 94 WRC+. I think he could do a lot better than that because that would be one of his worst seasons ever. Year to year, he's at least hitting at an adequate rate. So I think he can do that. And again, at the end of the day, what are you looking for? You're looking for, at this point, somebody who's better than Cabrera, LeMahieu, Peraza, right? That's it. A reclamation project is still a greater option than two glove-only guys and a washed-up vet. So I would take my chances with him because, again, while it's a high risk, it's not really that high of a risk with the money you'll be paying him. You eat $5 million in the Yankees, you shit that every day. So that was a name I found interesting. Russ Litchke. We had him on a couple episodes ago. Russ, I'm sorry if I butcher your name. And as an Italian, I feel ridiculous that I can't pronounce it right. Is it Russ Litke? I don't know. I'm pretty sure. I think of Lucas Licky. I think that's why I keep pronouncing it Licky, because the Yankees had a pitcher named Lucas Licky, spelled differently. But anyway, Russ, who joined us a couple of episodes ago, he brought up, I think he brought it up on the show, or before the show we were talking, he brought up Yoan Moncada as an option. And I was like, yeah, that'd be interesting. So I looked him up and I was like, you know what? It's worth talking about. So shout out to Russ on that. Again, go check out NY Yankee Dad. He's on all the platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and he's on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. But he's the reason we're talking about Yoan Moncada, because he got that thought in my mind, and now I kind of want him. But the Yankee that I'm most excited about this year is what I want to talk about next, because I've got a comparison for this guy, and I want to talk about this young Yankee who I think could break out this year when we return from our second break here on the show. Stay with us. Don't have time to sit down and watch a video? You can listen to BD4 on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And you can also watch the video format on Spotify too. If you feel like supporting the podcast, you can Venmo at Robert-Carbone-JR-28. We really appreciate your support. Do you enjoy Yankees baseball but are tired of hearing me yap? I have a suggestion for you. Go check out Yankee Crazy Podcast. Greg Gill is a Yankees podcaster on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and he's now selling merch. Go to yankeecrazy.myshopify.com. Stay connected with us. Visit BD4blog.com to explore our blog, tune into our latest podcasts, and follow us on social media. Thank you for being a part of this community. I, if you haven't been able to tell, am extremely excited for Jasson Dominguez. Jasson Dominguez, I think, is primed to have a really good season this year. You know, I think Jasson's got all the potential in the world. And I've had this comparison in my mind for a few years now. I mentioned this in the past. I don't know why this player comes to mind. Maybe this is a stupid comparison that makes no sense. But the reason he does come to mind is because he's a Dominican kid, a left fielder who's got a similar stature to this guy. He's also a switch hitter who's got some power. And if you haven't been able to catch who I'm talking about yet, this is a former Yankee who I think started his career as a left fielder with the Yankees before being traded. And he kind of bounced around after that. Really peaked with the San Francisco Giants for a year and a half, 2 years. He got busted for PEDs. And then that was kind of the end of his elite production years. And that's Melky Cabrera. I don't think Jasson Dominguez, or I hope not, is going to get busted for PEDs. But I see a similarity in their games, like a Melky with more home run power. You know, Melky hit a lot of doubles, but at Melky's peak, Melky was a very productive all-star caliber player. And again, there are similarities in their stature, in the way they look at the plate. I feel like just a switch-hitting bat with power, they're both kind of the same in that way. I don't know how to explain it, but I see Melky and Jasson Dominguez, just a more powerful version of him. But Jasson Dominguez, you know, a lot of people are talking about Jazz Chisholm breaking out for a 30-30 season. Not that Jasson, I think, could do that in his rookie friggin' season, but like, I do think he's got the upside to eventually do that. If this kid stays healthy, he's going to be legit. This is one of the few Yankee prospects I actually think will hit. But he's just got to stay healthy, first of all. You know, he had the Tommy John surgery in 2023, missed a bunch of time, had a couple of injuries last year, you know, came back from the injury, hurt the oblique. You know, I worry about him staying healthy with that stature. He's a small dude, but he's built well. Like he's muscular at like 5'10". You're hoping he can give you 145 plus this year. Right? I think most Yankees fans would sign up for that. So you just got to hope he stays healthy first and foremost. And then, you know, it was reported, I think about a week ago now, that he's going to be moving to left field full time. That's the plan for him. Kind of still wish he was in center field, as it is his natural position. He's got the speed for it. He'd be surrounded by two very good gloves in Bellinger and Judge to kind of pad any of his mistakes. But he's going back to left field, where he obviously had trouble making reads last year on fly balls. I kind of look at that as more of a fluke. I don't think that's who he is. I think he'll be fine defensively. I think at worst, you're talking about an average left fielder. And at best, because of his arm and athleticism, an above average one. But obviously, Jasson Dominguez is well beloved for his bat. And, you know, he's got to work on some things at the plate still. You know, the consistency hasn't been there yet. He debuted in 2023. He raked for, 8 games? Had the home run against Verlander. Returned last year after the injury in September. He looked fine for a stretch to start off, and then he kind of stopped hitting in the later half. Overall, at the big league level, he's got a .207 batting average, so he's still up and down. He's got to work on some things, got to fine-tune things from the right side of the plate. Right now, he was good enough in the minors from the right side of the plate, but he did struggle at the big league level last year as a right-handed hitter, and he struggled mightily in AAA last year from the right side. So being that he had success from the right side in the past, maybe that was an oblique thing. The left oblique is what it was, so that affects your front side as a right-handed hitter. We'll see how that works. But with more reps, hopefully improves his consistency from the right side. You do want to see a little bit more loft in that swing as a guy who's going to pull the ball. You want to see less ground balls and more balls hit into the air. But there's so much to like about him, man, that I can't just give up on him right now. I think anybody giving up on him because of what you saw last year is crazy. I think he's MLB ready. Every level he's been on down below, he has raked. This is a switch hitting bat with legitimate pop. He's got incredible bat speed. He hits the ball super hard, and he's already got productive numbers at the big league level. As inconsistent as he's been across 26 games, he's got 6 home runs. He's got 6 stolen bases. He's got a 437 slug, a 747 OPS. He's got a 107 OPS plus. He's got a 13% walk rate. So for a guy who's not been consistent, and I understand most of that's from his 8-game stint as a pre-rookie, but the power numbers are there through 26 games. You can see it. He's got a great eye. He's got good, solid athleticism. He's a pretty good base runner, which is going to help the Yankees out. And he seems built for it. He doesn't seem like he's afraid of the moment. He seems like he's got a good internal clock. Somebody who's very calm and he's ready for the moment. I think the kid's going to be good. Now, I'm going to be keeping an eye on him in the spring. I want him to get through it healthy, but I want him to get a ton of reps in. Give him those left field reps. Give him consistent at-bats. Give him reps from the right side of the plate, even if there's a righty on the mound. Give him the Volpe treatment all season long. If he's healthy, play him. Give him an unlimited leash. If he struggles, let him figure it out. Bat him at the top of the order. Get him more at-bats. I think he's got some really legitimate potential here. We went over the steamer projections a few weeks ago in one of our episodes. They said Jasson Dominguez is projected to have an 18-18 season, homer stolen bases. They project him to have a 112 or 112 WRC plus. That's a win. That's a win for a 22-year-old switch hitting rookie having an 18-18 year. And again, if he plays the full season, that's probably going to expand to 2020 at least. With the 112 WRC plus, that's a victory. You take that. But I do think he can be even better. I think there's a world out there where Jasson Dominguez can be even better than 2020 as a rookie. Does he hit 30 home runs this upcoming season? I don't know if it's going to be right away, but I think that's in his bat. I think he's got that to eventually get there. So I'm excited for Jasson Dominguez. And camp begins in less than a week, guys. So it's crazy that we're right here. We are right there. So that's it. That's all I got for this episode. We're going to wrap it up right here. We talked a little Tim Hill. We talked Yoan Moncada. And we just wrapped it up with Jasson Dominguez. Appreciate you all tuning in as always. And I will see you guys in the next episode, which will be episode 800 of BD4. Crazy that we're 800 episodes in. And we still have 2 listeners. So that's good. Appreciate you all, though, for actually coming in, listening, watching, wherever you listen or wherever you consume this podcast. I do appreciate it. I'm going to go to bed because it's late. Well, if you made it this far, that means you listened to or watched the entire episode. Thank you. Just remember to follow, subscribe, download, rate and review, and all that fun stuff to help out the podcast. And I will see you in the next episode of BD4.